Hello guys, again welcome to this wonderful channel and platform. Okay, so now we continue from the previous video whereby we were looking at genetics. So if you have not received the opportunity to watch that previous video, please do go there, watch that video, because it's very much important for you, especially with your understanding of what we'll be doing today. So I advise you go back, rewind and look at the previous video where we did the introduction around genetics. Now we are looking at problems, more and more problems. Remember, we teach what you want, we don't teach what we feel like teaching, right? So now you requested that we look at genetics. That's what we are doing exactly now on this platform, because practically impossible with the limited resources that we have, that we can cover everything. So if you have any challenge, let us know so that we'll be able to attend your challenge individually. Okay, so lastly we looked at the first problem here. Okay, this problem we've done in the previous video, and the video ended up when we were doing the second problem. Okay, now we will start here and do these three problems for now, and then shall it happen we have more time, we will look at some extra and more other problems around genetics, like you have requested that please, we are struggling when it comes to genetics, may you please assist. That's what we are doing. We are here for you. Okay, we are not here for ourselves. Okay, now we look at this problem. Okay, the second problem, the first one we already covered, like I said. Now here, now we look at this problem, the second question. Now they are saying a heterozygous flower, flower plant is crossed with a white flowering plant. Determine the possible phenotype and genotypes of the offspring if the red flower is dominant over the white flower. So now the terminologies we've covered in the first video, so make sure you go there, visit the previous video and watch. Okay, now we look at the problem. So now here, remember we emphasized the importance of the terminologies that are used here, because without you understanding the terminologies, then that means everything else won't be right. Okay, now they are saying a heterozygous. Remember now, I told you personally, I said hetero in science means what? Means different. Okay, now in science when you're talking about homo, you are talking about the same thing. Okay, now they are saying a heterozygous red flowering plant. Now the word to underline here is a heterozygous, the word heterozygous. Okay, now I said, remember, you choose you to represent your alleles using letters. Okay, so now I'll use letters to represent my red flower. So I choose the letter R to represent the red, right? And then it is crossed with a white flower. So in this case, the white flower is what? Is a recessive. Okay, because in the last section they said the red flower is dominant over the white flower. Now if we are talking of a dominant thing, that means that thing is our boss. Remember, when I'm talking about the word boss in this video, I'm referring to say a dominant one. Okay, so now the white one is recessive. So remember, recessive is represented by what? By a lowercase letter. So I write that as R. Okay, small letter R. Now they said this is heterozygous, so that means you have two different letters. You have a small letter and a capital letter to represent a heterozygous red flower. Okay, remember, when you have two alleles, now the dominant one will find expression in the phenotype of your flower. Remember, the phenotype is what you can see with your eyes. And then when we talk of the genotype, is the genetic makeup of the flower. We cannot see the genes, but how do we see that this thing is red? We see it through the phenotype. Now the phenotype is determined by what is there in your genes. Okay, now they are saying it's heterozygous, so you have two different letters. Now you have the boss and the smaller yana R. The R is there, the small r, we said it represents white. Okay, now you have red and white all together. But in this condition, now since it's heterozygous, now there is the boss there, which is the capital letter R, and R represent red. So the phenotype there will be that of the boss. So this flower becomes red, though you see that small R there. Okay, which talks to white. So in this case, now this is a heterozygous red flower. Okay, now the white one is a smaller person. The white, we said, is recessive. Only when there is no pause there, where the small person will be able to to be present in our phenotype. Okay, so that means in this case, for us to have a white flower, we can only have a white flower when we have a homogeneous recessive condition. Okay, so that means you have two R's, okay, two smaller R's, because the R's, they represent white, and white can only be present there if we are in a homogeneous recessive condition. Okay, now we have to do the genetic crossing to determine the phenotype and the genotypes of the offspring. Remember last time in the previous video I told you you have to write your key, right? So to talk about the key, what are you talking about? We are talking about the color. Okay, so we are talking about the color. The color, you said capital letter R represent the what color? Red color. And small letter r represent what color? A white color. Okay, now the first thing to write, you write P1. Okay, this P1 means your first parent, right? The first parent there, you have the red flower that is crossed with the white flower. Okay, so the first parent, we need to write the physical appearance of our parents. Okay, so we write P1 and then the phenotype of those parents. Okay, the phenotype, you have what parent? You have a red parent now. A red parent that is crossed with a white flower there. Alright. Now there's red cross white. You'll forgive me my pen and the handwriting there. The pen is making my handwriting ugly. I've got the most beautiful handwriting ever, but this pen now is sabotaging me, okay? Please don't say please make sure you write your work neat, because you'll be using a pen, proper pen. Now I'm using a computer pen here. Alright, now you have the genotype, okay? Genotype, remember the genotype, I told you, it's what is there in the genetic makeup of an organism. The phenotype, the thing you can see, you can only see the color, okay? The color is determined by the genes, alright. Already you've shown that your genotype for that flower is heterozygous, so that means you have two different letters, the big R crossed with the homozygous recessive white, okay? Then the next step, to write this, to say P1, it has marks there. Please write it, don't be lazy. Now, Mendel's proposed that, okay, these allele pairs will separate during the process of meiosis, right? So the next process that will happen here is to form the gametes by the process of meiosis, okay? So you write that this thing will undergo meiosis. Please, to indicate that you represent that meiosis there, it's correct, you have the marks, okay? So when meiosis takes place, you get gametes, okay? So in this problem, I want to use a Punnett Square, right? Remember the genetic crossing method, the other one I did in the first video. If you are comfortable with it, go back to the previous video. Now in this video and moving on, we'll be using a Punnett Square method because it's the one that makes our life easy and neat. The work will look neat there, okay? Now, the guy there, Gregor Mendel, proposed that those allele pairs will separate during meiosis. Meiosis is gamete formation, okay? So now these gametes will separate, okay? Now they will unite during fertilization. So the next thing, you draw your Punnett Square, all right? Punnett Square is a box where you put those separated allele pairs, okay? Now, okay, you write like that, and here you write the weight gametes to show these are gametes, okay? Sorry, if you cannot see, I'm sorry there. These technology things, okay? Now to write, this is a Punnett Square. Punnett Square is a block that is used there to determine the genotype and the phenotype, okay? I tried, okay? So now what happens is that these things now, they are a pair here, the alleles. They will separate. When they separate, you'll have the R there sitting alone, and that small r sitting alone for this one. It doesn't matter where you put this one there and put those this other one for white here, so it doesn't matter, okay? So now I put this one separate, okay? So R, okay? So now I do the crossing. R times R, I get big R and small r. R times R, I get big R and small r. R times R, I get small r, and that R times A, I get small r. And then to this process where the gametes unite, that process is a process of fertilization. Please write it there. fertilization. You have marks to indicate everything, okay? Now, that is the process of fertilization. Now you have the genotypes there, okay? Now, when you are done there, you have the F1 generation, okay? The F1 generation, that means the first generation of our parents, the P1, gave birth to our first generation of the flowers, okay? They will have the phenotype, the genotype. The genotype is already there in the Punnett Square, but I can write it here, all right? Genotype, so that it will make my life easy. In the genotype, you see I have 2 R, small letter R, and well, in this case, what is happening now? The technology, okay, and okay, so I am seeing that thing, and what? And you have 2 small letter R. According here, you see, you have those 2 RR and those 2 RR. So what is the physical appearance, the phenotype there? Because we are asked to determine the phenotype. Okay, what is the phenotype? The physical appearance of the offspring. So we look here. What color will you see in this offspring? Now there is a boss and a smaller person. Remember, when the boss is there, the smaller person does not show up in the phenotype, okay? It only shows up in the absence of the boss. So in this case, what you have the boss there. What color is the boss? The boss is red. So the overall phenotype of this one will be red. So we have 2 red plus and or plus what? What color is this one? The smaller yana one. There's no pause there. And the smaller yana one we said is white. So you have 2 red and 2 white. Okay? That is it. Okay. Now that is our phenotype of the flowers there. Okay? So you've answered your questions. Okay? So now let's look at the next question, okay? So we have answered number 2 correctly, okay? So now let's open some space for us to write, all right? Wait, what's happening? What's happening now? Okay, the technology is getting to be on a lockdown mode, pardon me, guys, okay? Right. Okay, now they are saying number 3, in an incomplete dominance cross. Okay, so now you see the terminologies that I'm emphasizing here. In the previous video they are there. Please go there, convince yourself. Okay, so now they are introducing a term here, incomplete dominance. Okay, before you go read further, now your mind must assist you to remember that an incomplete dominance, remember the previous video we said, is a type of genetic cross whereby you have incomplete power. It's like you have 2 bosses in this case, right? 2 bosses. No one wants to submit to the other person's authority. Okay, so now you have 2 bosses. Both of them, they are in a fight to appear in the phenotype. Okay, to say, okay, if I'm blue, I want the offspring to be also blue, and the other one is also saying I'm white. I want the offspring to be also white. And then what will happen in an incomplete dominance, because the white and the blue, they are both the bosses in that case, the phenotype of the offspring will be intermediate. That means it will be different from both the parents, but with an intermediate color, right? That is an incomplete dominance. Okay, so convince yourself with the definitions. Go back to the previous video there. Convince yourself. Okay, now here we continue. Now you see the importance. Now they are saying homozygous. You forgive me. I always, my tongue is always switching homozygous, homogeneous. Please forgive me. It's not homogeneous, right? It's homozygous because the physics there, the homogeneous there, I'm used to the terms of homogeneous from physical sciences, chemistry there, okay? So I should say homozygous. So in case I mention homogeneous by mistake, that is, my tongue is not me, okay? Now they are saying in a homozygous red flowering plant, a homozygous red flowering plant is crossed with a white flowering plant. Determine the possible offspring, the possible genotype and phenotype of the offspring. So in this case, you know that you have a red and a white flower. Now that the first statement said that it's an incomplete dominant, that means in that case, the offspring, it will look totally different from the mother and the father. It will have its own unique color now, that is intermediate of both colors. Okay, so that's the thing. Okay, all right. So in this case now you have a homozygous red flowering plant. Okay, so we choose the letters to represent the red flowering plant as capital letter R, and the other one white with other letter which is now different. You cannot use a small letter R because in this case, incomplete dominance, there's no one who's dominant over the other. They are both dominant. So we use a different letter. I choose to write the letter as W, right? So that I don't say this one is recessive. The white in this case is not recessive because it's an incomplete dominance cross here. Okay, they just told us. So you cannot put a small letter R. It cannot be recessive because it's incomplete dominance. There's no one who has the power there. Okay, so now you remember the first step. I said you write your key to explain to the marker to say, okay, the letters, what are they dealing with? The key that are there. Now the key, you are dealing with what? With the color. All right, so the key I choose to represent capital letter R as white. Okay, and then the other one as well, sorry, I said R is for red. Okay, let's erase the. So the letters, they do not matter. You choose your own letters, okay? But I choose my R and W's because those letters are familiar to me. So if you are familiar with APC, you choose them, it's yours, as long as you indicate, okay? So now R is representing red, and then we said that capital letter W is representing white, okay? So now you have explained to the marker to say that is the case, okay? Now, let's look now. The homozygous, so it means you have two R's and then that one as well, two W's. Okay, so now that means you have your parents or the first generation of your parents to do the crossing. Okay, now you write your phenotype of your parent. Okay, the parent, what color are they? The other one is red, that is crossed with a white parent. Okay, and the other one, the genotype. Now we look at the genes. Okay. Genotype, okay. Now, what this one is a RR, the genotype, okay, and the other one cross with W. Then remember the next step from here. This thing will form gametes from through the process of meiosis. So the next step here is to write that meiosis is gonna take place, okay. Meiosis, okay. Now, that is the next step. To indicate meiosis, that's a mark. Please don't lose those marks to represent P1 or parents, okay? Now, the next step is to have gametes, okay? So now I use my method of Punnett Square. Gametes already in a Punnett Square, okay? Now I write like that, my Punnett Square. Then I write gametes here. Remember Mendel's proposed what? He said, those allele pairs will separate during gamete formation, okay? That's law of segregation. Mendel's law of segregation. So in fact, I am very disrespectful when I call such an epitome as Mendel's. I have to call him Sir Mendel's, okay? So Sir Mendel said, okay, those, they will separate to form gametes so that you have an R there, and that R will sit alone, and the W's, they will also separate, okay? So in this case, in a Punnett Square, you don't have to write them separately to say gametes and then you write them separately. You write them, they are already separated here. Remember, I'm using the Punnett Square method because it's what I like. So you can use the other method, okay, of crossing the X's there, all right? So that's your choice as well. No one is forcing you to use the Punnett Square, but I use this one because it's very neat. So now R times R, get a big R, a big R, W, okay? Now you have R and W. R and W, R and W, okay? So now what is in here? These are your genotypes of your offspring, okay? Now you have F1 generation. What is the genotype there? Genotype, okay? The genotype, we are talking about the genes. So you don't have to write the genotype if they are there, okay, but I'm writing it as genotype so that I make my life easy to determine the phenotype. I don't miss anything. Okay, so I'm seeing that everything there is all what? all RW. Now, what is the physical appearance of RW? Remember, the important part here of everything else is the incomplete dominance. Incomplete dominant, you result with an intermediate color, or yes, okay? Now, what color is the intermediate when you mix white and red? Okay, the phenotype of the offspring will, if you mix white and red, what you get a pink color. In fact, in your exam, they can tell you, if they don't tell you that it's incomplete dominance, they will tell you that the offspring, they are pink, determine their genotype. Okay, so now if you mix, the intermediate color of red and white will be pink. So that means the phenotype, the offspring will be all pink. Because incomplete dominant, no one wants to submit to the other person's authority. Okay, so that's why you have a different color which is not there in either the parents. Okay, the parent were both red and white, then the offspring there that is there, it is a pink offspring. Okay, and now that is all for number 3. Okay, the next question, let's look at the next question before we waste so much time, because I like talking. You'll find me talking too much. Now, sorry, I'm missing something before we erase. Sorry, your teacher is too fast than to write. Hey, please forget, do not forget like me, all right? You are still fresh there, all right? So here you have to write that this is fertilization process. It's very, very much important. Hey, don't lose that mark for writing this is fertilization, where the gametes are uniting, okay? That is a process of fertilization. You draw your Punnett Square on the side, you write fertilization. Don't forget to write your F1 as well. Okay, now let's look at the next question. All right, let's look at the next question, number 5. All right, number 5. Oh, it's number 4, pardon me, it's 3 and then 4. Oh, okay. So now, let's read this question. Now I'm seeing that they are talking about couple. They are saying couple has 3 sons. The woman is pregnant again. Show grammatically by means of genetic cross what is the percentage of couple having a boy or a girl. So in this case, this question, we see that it's all that is talking about sex. Yes, I did not mistake it. It's talking about sex. In life sciences, when you're talking about sex, you're talking about the gametes, okay, the sex cells. So now you have a couple here which they already have 3 sons, okay? That means 3 boy children, okay? Now the woman there is pregnant again. Now we want to calculate the chances of the child being a boy or a girl. Now in most African families you will have those theories where they say maybe a certain surname or a certain person, they only have genes for producing boys. If it's not a boy, someone will say that's not his child or what. So that's all fallacy. Genetically, we want to see what are chances of getting a boy or a girl. If already you have 3 boys, someone will say, okay, more chances of that the next child will also be a boy, because this guy looks like he has gametes for boys. So that is all fallacy. In this case, we want to prove the chances of gender, okay? The chances of the sex there, all right? Now, remember with your meiosis, okay? Meiosis, you talked about the formation of sex cells. The chromosome that is responsible for sex cell is chromosome number 23, okay? Now, gender chromosomes, they are represented by letters X and Y, right? Now, let's go and write what we have here, the key, okay? The key. Now, they have not told you about whether dominant or what, but they understand that you know the orientation of a female and versus the orientation of a male, okay? So if you don't know, pay attention to this video. You will know after this video what do we do. Okay, the key, what are we dealing with? We are dealing with sex or gender, all right? Okay. Now you have 2 representation. You either have X that determines, let's say X represent our female, but then you will see the when you have 2 X's, that child will be a female. Now the other one, you have Y that represents your male. If you see a presence of a male, of a Y of Y there, of a Y gamete, then that means it will be a male automatically. X combined with a Y, you get a male. Okay, so now we go to the parents, okay, the P1, okay, the P1, we want the phenotype, okay. The phenotype, now you have a male that is crossed with the female, okay. The male, now we talk about the genotype. The genotype for male, remember the orientation of a male is represented by X, Y, okay? Then cross with the female. The female has two X's, right? Okay? That is all around the genetics of gender. Then this one, the male, because he has now two different gametes there, you are calling a male is a heterogametic, okay? This one is heterogametic, and this one is homogametic. That's what we call it, homogametic. So a female has two which are similar. You only have XX, that is a female, XY is a male. You don't have anything like YY. You cannot have this orientation. The only orientation of gender we know is XY and XX, okay? So now, Mendel said, okay, that those allele pairs, they will separate during the process of gamete formation. So the next step here that will take place, please, if I forget it, do not say you forgot to write meiosis. I always forget the O there. Meiosis. So the next step here that Sir Gregor Mendel proposed, he said that those gametes, those allele pairs will separate to form during the process of gamete formation, which is meiosis. This is to show that now we are preparing fertilization. Fertilization occurs when the gametes cross one another, all right? Okay. Now, what is the next step after meiosis? Meiosis will result in gametes. Now we are using a Punnett square. The gametes, you put them here and write gametes here. Gametes. And then gametes, okay? Now, as the Honorable Gregor Mendel proposed that these allele pairs will separate during gamete formation. So that means you'll have the X sitting alone there and the Y sitting alone. Then those ones, X. Remember, I always emphasize whether you put these X's here, they don't matter, and put those XY there, they don't matter, right? That's your own choice. So in this case, what you have, X times X, you get XX. Now this is the uniting of those allele pairs, and that process is called fertilization. Don't forget this, because I like to forget it. But you are still fresh, you don't have anything to think about, okay? So I don't see a reason for you to forget. Don't forget that to indicate that's fertilization. X times X, you get XX. Now you have Y times there, you have YX. So YX, according to mathematics, 2 times 3 is equals to 3 times 2. Isn't it? This one 6 equals to 6. All right. So that means XY, YX is equals to XY. That is maths, We are doing biology, so according to maths, you can say y times x, you get xy. I like to call it xy because there it is, okay? Now, I can't say yx. It does not make sense because there I have introduced something different, all right? But the mathematics there, because it's multiplication. Now, we borrow the rules of multiplication, okay? Now, that one, you get xy, all right? So now, what are the chances of getting a male? Now you can write the F1 generation, so that means it's the child there, and write the phenotype of those, right? The phenotype, what child is this? Is it a boy or girl? Now you have two X's, and when you said XX is a female, so that is a female, a male, a male. So what is the phenotype of that child? You'll have two male and two what? Females. So you've mastered to answer the question. But then we go back and read. What was the question? The question was saying determine the percentages. Okay. So what are the percentages now? Now you have two males. Okay. The percentages of being a boy, they are equal to the percentages of being a girl. So what is the percent now? Unfortunately, I don't have space to write what I want to write. So I'll use this one as here to calculate, right, the percent. Please Don't say I wrote it by the side of the Punnett Square and you want to write it there. I don't have a space here, so you will have that space, okay? So how many are there in total? The total is what you need over your total. So now, for a male is equal to, my chances, percent, okay? Percentage male, how many males are there? You have 2. Over what? Over the total. The total is 4. Then you times by 100, and then you see that is 50%, okay? Then the same thing goes to that girl. So the chances there are that it's 50%, 50%. There are no those African theories to say someone so and so is only giving birth to boys. So the chances are that if we fertilize one another, okay, the child is a must to be boy. No, it's not a must. It depends on the chromosome number 21, right? If the male is releasing a Y chromosome, then you get a male child, right? If the male is releasing an X chromosome, then you receive a female child. Remember now, all this is telling you that, okay, the only person who's responsible for determining the gender according to this genetics is saying, okay, gender is only determined by us guys, fortunately, right? So we determine the gender of our kids. So don't go there and blame someone. Maybe you're a husband there and blame your wife of not bringing, maybe you want a boy child, of not giving birth to boys. So you are responsible there because according to genetics, it's saying the mother there is only having X chromosomes, right? So if you, as a guy, you bring in an X chromosome, an X plus an X, you get XX. That means your child will be a female, all right? So now, if I'm a guy, I have the Y chromosome, I release the Y chromosome, the female will not release the Y chromosome. She always has X there, okay? So if I bring Y and then she brings in X, we have what? XY. Then our child becomes a boy. So unfortunately, females are not responsible for the gender of their children, okay? So it's only us guys who have the privilege of saying now the child will be the boy or will be the girl, depending on the sex gametes there, okay? So I hope you understand this lesson and you tried to follow as much as possible. So in case there's anything that you missed out, please do not hesitate to go and comment on the section in the comment section below. We will attend your questions as much as we can, all right? So thank you for watching this video. Make sure you share this video with others because our effort is to make sure we try to minimize the effect of coronavirus as much as we can. So if you can share the videos as much as you can to reach those matriculants there at home, it will be a proper thing to do, okay? So I will see you in the next videos where maybe we'll be having more questions around genetics, and we'll be looking at some other problems of genetics because genetics is quite a big and a broad and interesting topic that you requested that we focus on. I hope we have assisted you as much as we can, okay? So thank you for watching. See you in the next videos, all right? Sharp.
Well guys, I hope you're enjoying our content as we try to help you help yourself, because we can help you if you can't help yourself. So it is very important that if you have any questions, you can put them in the comment section, and it's also important that you share with us the way you feel so that we know how you feel about videos, and if we need to fix somewhere, we can go fix that particular thing, because we are humans, we all make mistakes. So here I'm standing in front of you to convey a very important message, guys. My message today says, please guys, stay indoors, protect yourself from this coronavirus, wash your hands regularly. So it's very important to stay safe and study online.